Friends, there's an old saying that a foolish person usually dies in one of two ways, either by eating too much or by doing something overly reckless. Today, we're going to look at 10 kings from history whose deaths were unbelievably strange. Some of these stories might make you laugh, and some might just leave you shocked. Number 1. Friends, many kings in history died in battle. But the death of King Charles II of Navarre is so strange that it almost sounds unbelievable. The year was 1387. At the time, the king was very sick, and his doctors came up with a very unusual treatment. They suggested wrapping the king in bandages soaked in alcohol, believing the warmth would help cure his illness. So the king was wrapped from head to toe in these alcohol-soaked cloths. At first, everything seemed fine, but this is where things went terribly wrong. When a servant tried to remove the bandages, she attempted to burn the thread with a candle flame instead of using scissors, and you can probably guess what happened next. The cloth was soaked in alcohol, and within seconds, it caught fire. The poor king was burned alive in the flames. Just think about it. In all of history, it's hard to find another king who didn't die because of enemies or war, but because of his own medical treatment. Sometimes it seems the cure can be more dangerous than the disease. Number 2. Among the great generals of history, Pyrrhus of Epirus is remembered with a lot of respect. In fact, his name gave us the famous phrase, Pyrrhic victory, a victory that cost so much that it almost feels like a defeat. But the story of his death might make you say, such a powerful warrior, and such a strange ending. The year was 272 BCE. Pyrrhus was fighting in a city, battling his enemies street by street. Swords were clashing, soldiers were fighting, and the battle was intense. Then something unexpected happened. A woman standing on the roof of a nearby house saw the fighting below. Trying to help her son, who was in the battle, she picked up a heavy roof tile and threw it down at the enemy. And by pure chance, that tile landed directly on King Pyrrhus's head. The blow knocked him down instantly, and a nearby enemy soldier quickly took the opportunity to finish him off. Just think about it. A general who had won major battles and defeated powerful armies was ultimately taken down by a roof tile thrown from a house. History sometimes reminds us that in war, the greatest danger isn't always a sword or an army. Sometimes it's whatever happens to fall from the roof above you. Number 3. Friends, it's true that many rulers in history died in very strange ways. But the death of Attila the Hun is on a completely different level. In the 5th century, the name Attila struck fear across Europe. Powerful kings were terrified of him. He was even called the Scourge of God. On the battlefield, he was so dangerous that entire armies feared facing him. But the story of how he died is surprisingly different. Around 453 AD, Attila had just gotten married. On his wedding night, there was a big celebration. The drinks were flowing, the party was going strong, and Attila decided to enjoy the night a little too much. According to historians, he drank a lot of alcohol that night. Eventually, he went to sleep. But during the night, something unexpected happened. His nose started bleeding heavily. The problem was that he was in a deep sleep, and the bleeding continued. By the time anyone realized what was happening, Attila had choked on his own blood and died. Just think about it. A warrior who couldn't be defeated by thousands of soldiers ended up dying after drinking too much on his wedding night. History sometimes teaches us a funny lesson. Even the most powerful conqueror can be defeated by his own party. Number 4. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes a foolish person meets his end in two ways: by eating too much or by doing too much. And in this case, it was definitely the first one. The ruler we're talking about is Adolf Frederick, and the reason for his death was surprisingly simple: food. In the 18th century, King Adolf Frederick of Sweden was known to enjoy eating, but in 1771, he may have had what was probably the heaviest dinner in royal history. That day, the king started eating, and just didn't stop. The menu reportedly included lobster, caviar, soup, sausages, and after all that, around 14 different desserts. Now imagine that for a moment. If an ordinary person ate that much, they'd probably feel terrible. And unfortunately, the king wasn't much different. According to historians, after this enormous meal, his digestion failed, his condition worsened, and not long after, he died. So here we have a king who survived politics, power struggles, and enemies, but was ultimately defeated by his own dinner table. Because of this, history gave him a rather unusual nickname, the king who ate himself to death. The simple lesson here? Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the food on your own plate. Number 5. Many kings in history died in battle, and some were killed in political conspiracies. But the story of Alexander I of Greece is a little different, and honestly, pretty strange. The year was 1920. One day, the king was taking a peaceful walk through the gardens of his palace. Everything was calm and normal, until suddenly a monkey attacked his pet dog. Naturally, the king jumped in to protect his dog, but the monkey wasn't backing down. In the chaos, it bit the king. At first, the wound didn't seem like a big deal. But remember, this was a time before modern antibiotics. The bite became infected, and the infection slowly got worse. Within a few weeks, the king of Greece died from complications caused by that bite. Just think about it. History is full of massive wars and powerful empires. Yet here's a king whose story ended not because of an army or a rival ruler, but because of an angry monkey. Sometimes, real history can be stranger than any movie. Number 6. The story of Edward II of England shows that sometimes the biggest danger for a ruler doesn't come from enemies on the battlefield, but from politics within his own kingdom. The year was 1327. King Edward II had become very unpopular, and eventually his own political rivals forced him off the throne and imprisoned him. Now the problem for his enemies was this: if the king were openly executed, people might become suspicious or even revolt. So, according to some historians, the conspirators supposedly chose a method that would leave no visible marks on his body. It's often claimed that a red-hot iron rod was used in a brutal way that caused his death without obvious external injuries. However, historians still debate this story today. Some believe it really happened, while others think it might be an exaggeration or even a later rumor. But one thing is certain: being a king was never truly safe. Sometimes the crown sits on your head, while the real danger is standing right behind you. Number 7. The next ruler you're about to hear about had a very unusual cause of death. This was Martin of Aragon from Spain. The year was 1410, and King Martin was already dealing with poor health. One day, he was sitting in his royal court when a courtier told him a very funny joke. Apparently, the joke was so hilarious that the king started laughing uncontrollably. But as he kept laughing, his condition suddenly worsened. According to a popular historical story, the king laughed so hard that he died right there. Now historians still debate how accurate this story really is. Some believe it might be true, while others think it may have been exaggerated over time. But if the story is true, just imagine it. A king who didn't die in battle, didn't die in a conspiracy, but laughed himself to death because of a joke. Sometimes in life, it turns out that even a good joke can be a little too powerful. Number 8. The Roman Emperor Caracalla was known for his cruelty and strict rule, but the story of how he died is so strange that it almost sounds unbelievable. The year was 217 AD. Emperor Caracalla was traveling with his soldiers on a military journey. Everything seemed normal during the trip, until suddenly he needed to take a bathroom break. Now, even emperors are human, so he stepped off to the side of the road. But what he didn't know was that one of his own soldiers had already been plotting against him. As soon as Caracalla walked away from the group, the soldier seized the opportunity and attacked him from behind. And just like that, the Roman emperor was killed. Just think about it. One of the most powerful rulers of his time, feared by enemies across the empire, ended up dying during a simple roadside bathroom break. History sometimes reminds us that the most dangerous moment can happen at the worst possible time. Number 9. The story of Henry I of England might make you realize that sometimes it's actually a good idea to listen to your doctor. The year was 1135. King Henry had a favorite dish, a type of fish called lamprey eel. He absolutely loved it. But there was one problem. At that time, the king wasn't feeling well. His doctors warned him clearly, "Your Majesty, you shouldn't eat this. It could make your condition worse." Now the king probably thought something like, "The doctors might be right, but the fish is just too delicious to ignore." So what did he do? He went ahead and ate a large amount of lamprey eel anyway. According to historians, his illness worsened soon after, and not long later, he died. Just think about it. A king who ruled all of England ended up losing the battle to his favorite meal. A simple lesson from history. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't a sword or an army. It's your favorite food on the dinner table.